You're watching UKtv Gardens. It's been going since 1968 and they still haven't run out of new tips or tricks for making the most of your outside space. It's Gardener's World.
I've loved roses for as long as I can remember. For me, they're fascinating and beautiful, the perfect flower, and I can't come to a garden like this without feeling a song in my heart. Throughout the centuries, the rose has been entwined with our history and literature, our art and our music. But is its popularity as our favourite flower starting to fade? Glorious rose beds like these in London's Regent's Park are no longer the height of gardening fashion that they were some 50 years ago, and we now favour a more mixed, herbaceous type planting scheme in modern gardens. Does that mean we're falling out of love with the rose? Well, I don't think so, and judging by the response to the Gardener's World website, where many of you wrote to tell us about your favourite varieties, there's still huge interest in and affection for roses. In fact, I think the rose is undergoing something of a renaissance. And over the next hour or so, we'll be looking at exactly how deeply that passion for roses is still burning. The renewal of our interest and re-evaluation of the rose is typified by the Royal National Rose Society, a 130-year-old charity that back in the 1960s had more than 100,000 members, making it bigger even than the Royal Horticultural Society.
Wonderful, wonderful roses, magic colours to touch your heart.
The success of the society was based on the incredible popularity of the hybrid tea roses. Their large, brightly coloured blooms dominated gardens throughout most of the 20th century, and the society's flagship, Garden of the Rose, reflected this fashion by growing huge numbers in single-species beds and inviting in members and celebrities of the time to enjoy them. But fashions have a habit of changing. By the end of the century, the hybrid teas had lost a lot of their fizz, and the planting of regimented monocultures seemed as trendy as a pop star in a safari suit. Membership slumped to less than 10,000, with the society losing up to £250,000 a year. As a result, the once celebrated garden became little more than a thistle patch. Things were desperate, so in a bid to reverse its fortunes, the society sold off half its land and resolved to spend £1 million on an all-new design.
It is totally different from our previous garden, where there were huge beds of roses, of all sorts of varieties, but now we're in the 21st century, so we need a garden to suit.
My brief was effectively to make places whereby the roses stood out the best. So in other words, some kind of enclosure or some kind of background which displayed the roses well.
The whole design of the garden really is based around three sort of main water features across the other side of the garden, with your main arbour that links all the way around. And I think there's about 1,900 square metres of York, and your average back garden probably got 20, 25 square metres, just to give people an idea as to how much paving there has gone in.
And with the new design comes a contemporary approach to planting, mixing shrubs and herbaceous plants in with the roses.
This site will actually take 30,000 plants, which you would imagine is going to take quite a while to put in. So we'll work with a team of 6, and there'll be 2 setting out in front and 4 planting in behind.
It's the gardens which actually attract members and attract income. And with luck, membership will increase, but it sure is a gamble.
By June the 3rd, as I have promised the members, we hope to have the President's Walk fully planted, and there must be some colour by then. It's absolutely imperative.
I'm sure we'll get it done. Sure we will.
One man who certainly knows and loves his roses is Peter Beales. Apart from having one of the largest commercially available collections in the world, with nearly 1,400 varieties, he
To learn about this, I went with Peter to Manningham Hall in Norfolk, where many years earlier he'd designed a series of gardens to show the history of the rose. And we started with a species rose, Rosa arvensis.
It's probably been on these islands thousands of years, and it's often considered by some authorities as being the rose that Shakespeare referred to in A Midsummer Night's Dream.
So from those original species roses, then into very early cultivated roses?
Yes, probably about the 10th century they became aware of the rose, both for ornamentation and for medical purposes. This is the apothecary's rose here behind us, and also known as the Red Rose of Lancaster. So it's a very important rose, not only in terms of its place in the garden, but also as part of our British history. There's a white rose I'd like you to look at.
Which one? The one ahead
the
there?
One ahead of there, if you go through ahead of me.
It's very lovely. Oh, beautiful.
It's beautifully fragrant. This is actually the White Rose of York. It belongs to a group of roses called the albas, and the albas are one of the healthiest groups of roses of all time, really, and they will fit into any space in the garden, and you can use them also for climbing up into small trees.
Over the centuries, roses have fascinated horticulturalists like no other flower. During the Crusades, damasks were brought over to Europe from the Middle East. And by the 17th century, improved breeding techniques led to a completely new group, the highly scented centifolias being developed by the Dutch.
Tell me a bit about the influence of the Empress Josephine at the end of the 18th century and her garden at Malmaison.
Well, she was an important figure as far as roses were concerned. She patronised many of the rose nurseries at that time and became a great collector of roses in her own right. And at one stage she had about 150 different gallicas growing there. But she also influenced the way roses were grown, I think. And she planted roses both in groups and amongst other plants. And she loved her garden, and she spent most of her time in the garden when Napoleon was away doing other things.
Josephine's patronage created a golden age for the rose, with wonderful new groups like the mosses being cultivated. They were perfect, but for one thing, they only flowered once.
What was it that made possible the repeat flowering qualities of modern roses?
Well, there we are. There is a rose example right before our eyes. This is a rose called Old Blush. That came from China, and breeders of the day crossed it with the European roses, such as the gallicas and the damasks and so on. And gradually they evolved roses that flowered continuously through the summer.
The Victorians were inspired hybridisers of the Oriental roses, creating varieties like the vigorous repeat-flowering Bourbons, the highly popular hybrid perpetuals, and the densely petalled tea roses, which arrived in Europe on the tea ships of the East India Company.
So are we finally edging towards the 20th century?
Yes, we're getting well into the 20th century, the first 3 decades of the 20th century, when the hybrid musks were developed. The roses here, this one is called Cornelia, and that one is Buff Beauty.
And do they both have this characteristic of quite generous sprays, but of smallish flowers?
Yes, but it's the quantity of flowers that makes them so garden-worthy.
And again, do these repeat?
Oh, they do. They go on from the beginning of June right through till the end of November when the frosts come.
Yes. Now, these are the roses I remember from my childhood, a lot of these.
Me too. I remember them from the sort of 50s onwards.
Oh, well, I'm not quite that old.
No, I know that.
Well, that looks like Peace, which I do remember from my father's garden.
Yes, Peace is probably one of the most famous roses of all time, and the Americans introduced it at the end of the Second World War and named it Peace.
Now, the colours are getting much stronger, aren't they?
Yes.
As we come to these sort of modern roses.
And also different habit of growth, really. They're much more upright.
So hybrid teas?
Yeah, hybrid teas, yes.
And then something, again, that I grow in my garden.
Indeed, and it's in many, many gardens. It's Graham Thomas. It's, in my opinion, one of the best roses bred by David Austin. It's a lovely colour, as you can see, and it's fragrant, and it does all the right things. David is to be congratulated on his work with these roses, because he has brought the old-fashioned look to the modern rose. And Graham, of course, was responsible really for bringing many of the old roses back from oblivion, really. And I feel that he has been commemorated here with a very lovely rose.
I don't think you should consider roses old-fashioned at all now, because you can incorporate them into contemporary schemes so easily that they'll work in almost any scenario.
And with many of us now having more compact urban gardens, there's an increasing demand for growing roses in smaller spaces. And one of the best ways to achieve this is to use a container.
the most important thing is that you need a container much bigger probably than the one you think you'll need, because roses are hungry and they're thirsty. So I'm using a mixture here of a John Innes, which is a soil-based compost, with just a regular sort of loam-free compost as well. There's a bit of grit in here, and for good measure, I'm going to add in a little bit of a slow-release fertiliser as well. And then the next thing is to make sure you've got the right rose. There are so many to choose from. Probably hybrid teas don't work terribly well. Neither do some of the big older roses. But there are lots of gorgeous patio roses. There are also miniatures, and this is one of them. I'm going to try this one. This is called Cutie, and it is a patio rose. In fact, by next year, it's going to look more like this. So it does bulk up quite quickly, so you may not want to put any annuals or bedding in under there next year, but I'm going to now, and I'm going to use this Nemesia, I think. This is a white flower, so I want a little bit of colour, but not too much. There we are. Now, there's still plenty of room here at the top of the pot for watering, and that's important because you need to water it, particularly while it's just becoming established now. And the other really important thing to remember, particularly with patio roses, is they like to be pruned hard, so you can really go in there with the secateurs and cut them right back, probably in about March, and they'll be all the better for it. Otherwise they get very spindly, nasty looking. Okay, yes, I'm quite pleased with that. You don't have to use a specially bred patio rose or a miniature rose for a container. You can use a shrub rose, and there are a couple here that I'm tempted by. This is Molyneux, beautiful English rose. This flower's slightly going over, but plenty more bud on it. But I think I'm going to do a pink, and this is a beauty. This is the Mayflower. It's got wonderful sort of old rose fragrance, and because it's an English rose, a fairly new introduction, it's going to flower on and on all the way through the summer. I'm still going to use just a bit of filling around the base, so I'm going to use Bacopa for that, which I use quite a lot, and it makes lovely, it sort of bulks up quite quickly, and you get clouds of these tiny, tiny white flowers, and they spill over the edges. And it's a good idea as well every year to take a bit of the compost off the top, the old compost, get rid of it completely and just refresh it. Put a new bit of compost mixture on the top few inches. Again, that needs watering in. I think that's going to be beautiful. Let me have a sniff. Oh, lovely. Right, now it's not just shrubs and patio roses. It's also climbers do exceptionally well in containers, provided, again, that you choose the right one. This is a patio climber. It's called Open Arms. Got beautiful, again, repeat flowers, and the colouring sort of reminds me of apple blossom, that very delicate white and pale pink. You can see here, this is another important thing, this is where the graft union is here. And when I was young, my father always left that sticking out of the soil and told me that that's what you had to do. But now the thinking is that you bury it. So I just need to bring the level of this compost up a bit higher, because that helps to prevent suckering. The other thing, of course, is that you want to keep as much moisture in the pot, particularly at the moment when we're talking about water shortages. Do you want to help me? So a mulch on top of the compost is a really good idea. You can put some stones on the top.
I can put some stones.
Yes. There we are. And that will not only help to keep the moisture in, it will keep the weeds out as well.
At his London restaurant, chef Alexis Gauthier even uses roses in his recipes.
I mean, the good thing with roses, it can really go through the entire meal. I mean, we can use it as a starter to salad, we can use it as main course to deep fry and to do as a garnish with some meat or with some fish. And again, you can do it as a pudding, all sorts of things. You need to have a basis on which you can work, and that is the our rose dressing. So what we do is we take some rose petal, obviously untreated, we just thinly sliced it, like this. And then we'll put it in white wine vinegar. And we'll leave it for a few days. And then we've got this base. Oh, this is classic Japanese tofu, but once it's dressed with this, it takes a total another dimension. To balance the taste of the sweetness now, you put a bit of shallots. You need to put a bit of fat parsley with it. And then some mixed leaves, a few petals. Red obviously is, the color people are looking for when they are eating roses. And the other thing I like to do with this kind of dish is to deep fry some leaves. Okay? I've made some tempura mix. This is Japanese flour mixed with a little bit of water. And it's ready to be served. I think that's a nice way to eat roses.
Delicious. And nowadays, even the most traditional rose gardens are developing their roses, as I discovered when I spoke to Regent's Park head gardener, Nick Biddle.
Nick, do you know how many roses you grow in the park?
All in all, we must have, I would say, about 20,000.
Only 20,000 roses. That is an awful lot. I mean, what's involved as a sort of calendar year in making it look this good?
Well, we have a team of 2 who look after the roses in Queen Mary's. They do have to be helped out. After the first flush of roses, we have to get teams together and go through deadheading. The sooner we can get the deadheads off, the more we encourage repeat flowering, because the rose garden will flower from its first flush in June all the way through to Christmas, provided you get the deadheads off and don't allow it to go to seed.
Now, are you a rose lover?
You'd have to be to work here. Yeah.
Definitely. What's your favourite rose?
My favourite rose is probably Stanwell Perpetual. It's an old-fashioned variety, a really delicate fragrance. A group of roses that I've come to recently is the English roses, and we've planted a border this year of roses donated by David Austin, and that's just starting to grow, and I'm really pleased with the effect of it. It's really brightened up a corner of the garden that previously wasn't performing as well as the rest of the gardens.
And the creator of all this is David Austin's technical manager, Michael Marriott.
They only planted in April, I think it was, so I mean they've done fantastically well.
That's extraordinary. Were they planted bare root?
Yes, I do prefer bare. Both very hard.
And they've already got a nice mulch around them as well.
Very important. Roses love lots of well-rotted manure, garden compost, something like that. Put a good mulch on it, they love it.
Now, what were you looking to achieve in this particular bed? How did you decide what varieties to put where?
Well, I wanted to show the whole colour range that English roses have, so we've tended to try and put the yellows and the apricots together and the different range of pinks together as well. And of course, fragrance is very important. So I've got the taller varieties towards the back, but sometimes I try to bring those towards the front. I mean, a rose without a fragrance, it's just hardly worth it.
It's not worth having, really, is it? Tell me a bit about the pruning in general.
It's very important to prune them. The general rule is down to about halfway, but anywhere between a third and 2/3 is fine. If you prune them too hard, you lose that nice chubby growth. If you let them go too tall, they can get actually massive.
Yes.
But actually, some of them make the most fantastic climbers. We've got St Swithin up there, which is just superb as a climber. I mean, a lot of them can grow really, really well as climbers. And the great thing about them is they produce flowers really low down. They produce lots of basal stems, and so there's lots to play with, train them to fan them, or cut some lower back. And they're just fabulous as climbers, actually.
Now, I have to say that I was watching you sort of just wandering around amongst the roses, and you were doing a bit of deadheading, and you literally just grabbed the rose and you just snapped the flower off.
That's right.
Is that the best way to do it?
The garden, isn't it? I can't help it when I'm walking around anybody's rose garden. I'm continually snapping them and then just sort of throw the dove. It's just gorgeous.
But of course, we were all taught, I was taught many years ago, to take off the rose right down to the sort of first leaf.
The idea now is the more leaves you have at the top, the better, really, because it's then strengthening the plant to encourage new young shoots. The only problem with that is that it leaves that slightly ugly stalk, but it's just not visible, really.
Now, I know that this bed was used for roses before. Wasn't there a problem with replanting immediately with more roses?
Well, not anymore. they actually changed the soil here because the soil wasn't very good. But as long as you've got some decent soil there, it's actually much better to just improve what you've got there already. And so what you want to do is incorporate plenty of, again, well-rotted manure, garden compost. It's secret to everything. To a good depth, say about 18 inches, 50 centimetres. Do that during the autumn before planting. And then use the mycorrhizal fungi, which is just like a friendly fungus that's been around for about 400 million years. So it's quite well proven, really. And mix that into the soil at planting time. And as long as you've prepared the soil well, there should be absolutely no problem with replant disease at all.
With Michael's display looking so impressive, it seemed a good time to see how the gardens at the Royal National Rose Society had developed over a period of 3 months.
Well, I can see somebody's been very hard at work. I mean, you've planted how many roses now?
Several thousand.
But, I hate to sort of be picky, but you promised us flowers by now.
Well, I'm a very
happened?
optimistic person, and I did hope for flowers in June this year, but the weather has been the worst setback that we had. So consequently, the roses did go in very late. But next year, they will definitely be in full bloom, without doubt.
Now, I've heard that you're aiming for every single rose that's here in the garden to be actually available, something that you could go out and buy.
Yes,
is that true?
Yes, that is absolutely true. I think this is the difference between the previous garden and this new garden. Before, it was more a collection.
Yes.
Now, it's for everybody.
Yes. So in the garden in general, are you trying to use more perennials, more shrubs to make a mixed
Very
planting?
much so, because I think this seems to be the fashion.
Yes.
Nowadays, people use a rose as a shrub. I really call this a 21st century garden, which is what I hoped all along.
While the Garden of the Rose looks forward to the future, the best of today's roses are always to be found at the RHS Hampton Court Flower Show. It's an opportunity for breeders and growers to get together and show the public their newest and finest varieties in the Festival of Roses marquee. It was also a chance for us to discover which roses were in the list of very best sellers.
This year it's one called Chandos Beauty, and I think it's selling so well because it's got a wonderful perfume. It just makes you smile.
One of our best-selling roses is New Dawn. It's a climbing rose. It's been around, well, since 1930. Continuous flowering, scented, healthy. What more could you ask?
I think the best-selling rose for this year has got to be Hot Chocolate. It's been voted Novelty of the Year for 2006 by the Rose Growers Association. It's a nice compact grower and it gets about 2'6", and it just carries on flowering right the way through till November.
This is Sweet Dreams, by far our best selling variety of patio rose. Lovely apricot colour. We sell thousands of these every year and blooms over and over again.
Sweet Dreams, in fact, is the most successful British rose ever bred, and 4.5 million have been sold since it was introduced by Friars Roses in 1988. In that year, it was voted Rose of the Year, one of 3 successes for Gareth Fryer, who made it 4 with his latest introduction, Tickled Pink, this year.
Well, it certainly looks like a very good rose to me. Are you pleased with it?
Oh, highly pleased, delighted, yes. And already I think it's going to be very popular too. It's a nice sort of seductive pink.
It should be a good seller.
Hopefully. It's very easy to grow, that's the beauty of it. I think that's probably what saw it through in the Rose of the Year trials.
It took an incredible 10 years of development for Tickle Pink to reach this stage, and I was keen to learn why it took so long.
We first of all select the flower that we're going to pollinate.
Right.
And then we have to emasculate it. That's remove the male parts of it. So what we do is remove all the petals. We would then remove the stamens. And then you select the pollen parent, another colour, and just dab on the stigma here. And then when we've done the pollination, we make sure we mark it with what the 2 parents are, and we remove these petals so that we know that it's been pollinated, basically.
Right. And that's
pollinated, that will swell up, and we shall sow the seeds from there after Christmas in the winter time, and there'll be little seedlings flowering this time next year.
And by the following summer, the results of all these crosses can be seen in their true colours.
Do you get many surprises in terms of the colours that appear?
We do, yeah. Something rather like this, actually.
Yes.
Which is sort of purple with a few stripes
Absolutely beautiful. Another stripy one here. That's really,
that's
amazing. And could this red rose have had any colour parents?
Absolutely. 2 pink roses could have made that, or a yellow and a pink. It's really all that's in the background in the genes.
When you've got a promising flower like that, what's the next stage?
The next stage will be to try that outside next year. In here, they've been cosseted, no rain, shaded from the sun, watered when they want to be. So the real test starts next year for these
out
outdoors.
In the real world. This is my idea of heaven.
Well, these are all the roses that we selected from the bench last year, and over the next 3 years we'll be evaluating them, judging them, testing them. And this is really where they've got to tell us that they're the ones that are going to be future roses of the year or something like that.
Where do you start? Because I mean, I stand here and I look at them and I think, oh, gorgeous, oh, lovely, that's nice. You know, I mean, it must be so hard to narrow this down.
It is very hard, but at the moment we're at the beginning of the season, so they're all looking their best. As we go on another 2 or 3 weeks, when they've stopped flowering, that's when we can really weed them out. But there's no question, they've got personality, a lot of these roses, and they've got a twinkle in their eye, and those are the ones, you know, that they've got a sparkle.
Well, this one I think's got sparkle.
Oh, absolutely.
A fantastic colour, lots of flower. I mean, it's beautiful. I love the way that the flower sort of matures and changes in colour as it ages. So is that one that you would consider?
Absolutely, yes. It's one we've earmarked from the outset. So we now have just got to wait whether it stands any rain that we might have in the next few days, and whether it'll be disease-free.
Now, how do you remember which ones you like?
Well, we record, they're all numbered, and we also put sticks in. So wherever we see something
promising rose
might come up to scratch, we put a stick in, or we might remove the stick if it's all of a sudden letting us down.
So you've got your most promising roses. How do you go about choosing a name for them?
With great, great difficulty. That's the hardest part of it. The name has to really be associated with the sort of rose it is.
Yes.
And it has to have some sort of appeal.
Is that why they're often things like silver anniversary or happy birthday, that kind of thing?
Why not? Celebrate on occasion. It's a very good idea.
Can it make a big difference to the actual sales?
A big difference. I mean, even now we've got the diamond wedding. Everyone's living longer, and that's becoming a top-selling variety.
A good one as well. This is absolutely beautiful. This does stand up and say, look at me.
It certainly does. I think we've got something very, very special here.
Possible rose of the year?
Yeah, I think it could be. Yeah, it's certainly got everything that it takes.
All you need is that name.
Yes. Any ideas?
Thinking caps on.
Apart from finding a name, Gareth also needs to bulk up supplies of his chosen roses. Out in the fields, buds are taken from the new varieties and grafted onto an established rootstock like Rosa laxa. This way there'll be plenty of the new plants available when he's ready to launch. Because creating new varieties is such a time-consuming process, there's plenty of scope for enthusiastic amateurs like Ronnie Rawlins, who created the best-selling Good Luck rose. But even he finds successes like this are elusive.
I've been doing it for 30 years now, and most of them have had to be destroyed because they're just not good enough. But occasionally a good one like this one comes along, but it's very rare. Say over 30 years, maybe 50 really good ones. A lot of very nice ones, but the very good ones, well, about 50, that's all.
Is there anything particularly that you've been working on that's proving to be more elusive?
Yes, there is. I'm actually working on these Persian roses, the only rose in the world that has a red eye. This started 36 years ago with 2 breeders, Jack Harkness and Alex Cocker. They succeeded in getting the eye into the garden roses, but they couldn't get them to flower more than once in the season. Now I've been lucky, very lucky indeed, to get the 2 parents that gave me not only the eye, but flowered for the full 5 months.
That's extraordinary.
So it's a major breakthrough.
And all this groundbreaking work takes place up on Ronnie's allotment in Huddersfield.
Well, this all started 8 years ago. This is the Magic Cross, and I married this one up to this one after hundreds of crosses, and I was lucky to get this one, which is the daddy of nearly all the red-eyed plants that we've got here.
Despite this success, producing new red-eye varieties from the Magic Cross is still proving something of a lottery.
Well, every day that I come down here, the first thing I do is I look along all these roses and see if I've got any with an eye. 99% of these will have to be thrown away, but just occasionally I find an eye, and it's so exciting. It's like Father Christmas has come for me. There's an eye there. It's not really big enough. I want it halfway up the petal. I've just seen this one. Oh, that's got a very nice little eye, lovely colour. But out of all these, there'll be very little. But it's still exciting looking for them to see if there's anything there.
But now Ronnie feels he may have achieved a new breakthrough.
This is the second lottery ticket winner. I've been trying to find 2 plants that would give eyes in every seedling, and I think I may have found it. That's crossing that one and this one. Certainly at the moment is giving eyes in 90%. So if that's where it sticks at, I'm extremely happy. It's going to save a lot of work in breeding them and throwing most away.
It may be 10 years before we start planting Ronnie's red-eyed roses, but gardeners have never been short of finding new varieties and different ways of growing them. Jenny Rayworth opens her London garden every year for the National Gardens scheme and has a wonderful display that she's grown over the past 25 years.
There was no garden here at all, and we started from scratch.
Do you know how many roses you've got in the garden?
Well, I should think we must have 60 or 70, I should think.
An awful lot.
An awful lot.
There's always room for one more, isn't there? I find.
Fritz Nobis here is a wonderful rose because it's a very fast grower and it really sort of makes a shape very quickly.
Is that just pruning, or are you supporting them in some way?
If you could see underneath, each one is on about 5 metal stakes. The branches are trained round the metal stakes, so they shoot on the branches.
Yes, so you're encouraging the buds to break.
More, yes.
It's a good support system underneath.
And they're fed very well.
And tell me, what's that up there in the tree?
Now that's Rambling Rector. I mean, I call him he because, my gosh, he's a real goer.
Well, it is a he, isn't it? Definitely.
We planted him and he didn't do anything for ages, and I fed him. He's gone up to 30 feet, and I think people have to know when you plant a Rambling Rector, it's got to have something to climb on, and it's going to be a real
You've
goer.
got to expect a big rose. Goodness me, so this is just one after the other.
Wonderful smell. This is Felicia. We've got all sorts of different ones here. This is Penelope.
It's lovely,
They're all
soft
hanging
light.
over. And
Yes, it's very blousy.
Very
and
blousy,
full
aren't they?
and voluptuous roses.
Voluptuous.
Gorgeous, we like that. And what's this here?
This is Tuscany Superb. This is a lovely rose.
Gorgeous
Doesn't it
colour.
contrast beautifully with that
Just
pink,
smell that
you see?
Oh, it's
Lovely.
lovely, isn't it?
And this is
Beautiful.
Celeste. I think that's a lovely rose.
Very
Love
pretty,
that.
perfect pink.
And now here we've got a moss rose, which is called Chapeau de Napoleon, because it's the
It does look
Napoleon's
like-
hat. Three-cornered hat. you
Yes,
see?
it does look like a tricornal.
Absolutely. And look at the lovely flower. Absolutely.
Now you've got another clematis going up through there.
Now that clematis hasn't had the Chelsea's chop, which it's supposed to have.
What's the Chelsea chop?
Well, each of these roses have got a clematis growing through the middle of it. And of course, the clematis gets a bit vigorous, and so at Chelsea Week, we chop them, and we chop them sort of halfway up, which all it does is makes the clematis flower later. And so the roses finish flowering, and then the clematis will then come through.
Very clever. Yes, I like that idea. I might copy that. So through here. Oh, wow. That's amazing. You're showing off now.
Now this is Rambling Rector again. Just look at that. I mean, he's planted right on the back of that pergola there. He's gone all over here and all over into those trees up there. So
It's extraordinary. It looks like a cloud almost, doesn't it?
And look at this Prince Charles clematis going through it. It's so lovely.
I particularly like the way you've obviously thought very carefully about how you're using the roses and what you're combining them with. And I mean, that's an example of it. But through here as well, you've got wonderful mixed border so that you've got roses with perennials, with shrubs, and it just works beautifully.
Yes, there's lots and lots of different things in here.
And it's fabulous, those sort of clouds of cranberry behind as well.
The cranberry is fantastic.
And alliums just in
Alliums,
front as well.
and I find uprights is so important in a
Yes.
herbaceous border.
Yes. Now that one I recognise, that's Souvenir de Dr. Germain, isn't it?
Yes,
Which
it's
I
beauty,
grow as well.
isn't it? What a wonderful colour, isn't it?
Well, I'm always
Fantastic.
being told by rose growers, you know, to forget about it because it's difficult and it tends to get a lot of disease and so on, but that looks absolutely beautiful.
It's fantastic, and all the depth of colour is just beautiful.
It
Like
changes,
a wonderful
doesn't it?
scent.
Oh,
and
I
look
think
at it
the
against that
pattern's
Rosa glauca. It's quite shady here, so but
Yes.
it is doing very, very
well. It
well
likes a
indeed.
bit of shade, that particular rose. I have to say, it's not just that rose. I mean, in general, the roses look incredibly healthy. I can't see any black spot, there's no mildew, you haven't got green fly. I mean, you must be doing something right.
Well, we do mulch them very well. They have a good thick mulch on them, and we feed them. So, but we're not watering them even in this heat. I mean, they just have to do their own thing.
How often do they get a feed?
About twice a year.
Any more good tips?
There's one thing I'd really like to show you, and this is a climbing rose, Constance Spry, planted where an old rose died. And you know how you're supposed to not be able to plant a rose
Yes,
where one's
it's
died?
a good 2 years. though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. They say it gets rose sickness, but we read
Yes.
in an old magazine that what you can do is to dig a deep hole, fill it with a strong cardboard drink box, and then fill the box with very good compost, plant the rose in it, and the idea is that by the time the rose breaks through the cardboard...
And it's rotted away.
There won't
The
be any
soil is
virus.
okay.
Yes, absolutely.
That's very clever.
I'm frightfully thrilled. It had about 8 flowers on it this year, so
That's
probably
very good.
28 next year.
Growing roses in the garden is so rewarding with the different colours, the shapes, the fragrances. But some growers want more. They want absolute perfection, and a lot of these roses would be rejected as blown. So welcome to the world of competition roses.
For the past 10 years, Tony Bracegirdle has been the national rose champion, with his nigh-on perfect displays all selected from his allotment just a few yards from his home in Ramsbottom.
Alice and I got married in 1965, and the garden is 8 square feet. So I had no gardening experience whatsoever, but the roses had been neglected, so I thought, OK, let's have a look at this, let's tidy it up a little bit. So I dug all the roses out, plenty of organic material in there, put the roses back, and of course they rewarded me. The first one to flower was Ena Harkness, that wonderful blood red, velvety red, fragrant hybrid tea. And I can remember that flower now. It was perfect. And I suddenly thought, I want to grow more like this. And from those 6 rose trees, I've now developed to 1,000. I would think this is ready for next week's show, about 7 days, that's about perfect. So we need to cover it up, and the reason we cover them up is A, to keep the rain off, and B, to keep the morning dew off. The morning dew can actually do the petals harm. That's going to be an absolute cracker. This one we need to disbud to get that perfect quality bloom. 3/4 open is what we're looking for, symmetrical in outline, perfect shape and blemish free, hence the reason why we use the cups. This one has got a split, can you see it? Royal National Rose Society rules state that a split is a serious fault. Weather damage is a serious fault, bad formation is a serious fault. So there's no point in me taking that to the show, unless of course I have to. If I want to do the ball of 12 and I only have 11, then I will consider taking that, staging the split to the back of the exhibit away from the judge and hope that he doesn't spot it. This one here, this is a different kettle of fish altogether. This is absolutely spot on. It's blemish free, it's fresh, it's the perfect stage. By Saturday it will be absolutely spot on. If I can do a ball of 12 of these, I will be a happy man. This one is obviously too young for the Lakeland Rose Show, but it's too advanced for the show in a week's time. So really, using this transparent cover is only going to bring it on. So what I really need to do is put on one of these darker ones where the bloom is always in the shade. The reason for the window, by the way, is that I can see the development of the bloom inside. I always place the window facing north so there's no sun can actually go into the cover. So okay, we can use this cover on this one here, which probably will be ready in a week's time. So that's about right. We've got the young one in the transparent one, and we've got the advancing bloom under the shady one. So that's really what we're looking for.
Before a show, Tony stores his cut blooms in his makeshift fridge, an old air raid shelter on the allotment, until he's ready to use them.
The RNRS standard states that the rose bloom should be half to 3/4 open. Well, I think you'll agree that one is, but this one certainly isn't, and that one certainly isn't. So we need to work on these blooms. We need to dress the blooms. It's as simple as that. And whenever I move my blooms around, the water always has bleach in it to stop any bacteria clogging up the cambium layer. So about a teaspoonful to 2-gallon bucket of water is adequate. And by dressing the bloom, what I really mean is that we put these pellets in here and they will hold the petals in exactly the position that we want them to be in. And if these pellets were taken out within 2 hours of them placed in, the petals would shoot back. But if you leave them longer than 2 to 3 hours, take the pellets out, the blooms will remain exactly as they were set. And then these blooms are actually ready for the show.
It's 4 a.m. on a Saturday morning in July, and at the Lakeland Rose Show, all the rose exhibitors have been working through the night to get their displays ready, including Tony's chief rival, Fred Barnes, the show's chairman.
And how old are you, Fred?
70.
I just don't know how you do it. I mean, last weekend you came down to Bury, yeah. You supported my show, you've been to Teesside, after Bury you went to Kendal, so in 2 days you'd done 3 shows, yeah? I just don't know how you did it. I just don't know how you do it.
With over 40 classes at the show, ranging from single hybrid tea blooms to great bowls of floribundas, everyone enters as many different displays as they can. But mistakes can happen.
We were at RNS show, and I did a box of 6, just like this, all cotton line, and I completely forgot to take it out. So I really got hammered that day, and I didn't live it down.
Tends to be the husband who starts it, I think, and then the wife comes in and shows a bit of artistic merit.
The biggest winners are couples. I mean, there's Tony and Alice there, Ken and Dorothy, us two. I wouldn't do it, man, it's too much. How would you explain to your wife you're away every weekend? Who's that woman, you know? It's Rose.
It's now 8 a.m. and time for the judging.
I've sent 5 judging teams away to judge the show, and they seem to be very happy with the standard. And I'm ecstatic with the standard.
Well, I think I've done very, very well. I've got a few first. I haven't seen all the classes yet, but yeah, I've got a few first, so I'm pleased, let's put it that way. I expected to win that, but there's only 2 in the class, and I did win it. Here again, it's pleasing to get first with Ravenswood Village. Again, there's only 2 exhibits, but you never get a lot of exhibits in the one variety class. They're very, very difficult. Distinct varieties, much easier, but one variety, no. And again, it's that guy from Ramsbottom that's done the winning. Second prize, Tony Bracegirdle. But there's no disgrace in finishing second to this super exhibit, Fred Barnes. Yeah. Again, I'm having a good day. Andrea Stelzer, 6 Selfridges and 6 Julius Kiss. Again, first prize. It's definitely my day today, definitely. That ribbon tells us it's the best rose in the show. It's a Wimmy, and that must have been in the bucket that we filmed. But to me, this is the icing on the cake. This is the one I wanted to win. Ball of cluster flower, 9 stems of cluster flower and 9 stems of hybrid tea. I mean, I'm absolutely over the moon. It's just beyond belief. It's been my day. It's wonderful.
This year, Tony also won a record-breaking 11 consecutive national championships. But talking of competitions,
we've had so many suggestions for your favourite roses since you started writing into the website 6 weeks ago. But now you can sit back and enjoy the Gardener's World survey of your top 10 roses.
At number 10, you chose a lovely modern climber, Compassion, for its strong colour and shape. Next came three together, Fragrant Cloud, an excellent free-flowering shrub rose, tied with two shade-loving climbers, the vigorous pearl pink New Dawn and the vintage Zephrine Druin. Everything an old rose should be, but without the thorns. At number 6 is a new English rose, Jeff Hamilton, a star performer in memory of a much-missed man. And harking back to the 60s, the pale lavender hybrid tea, Blue Moon, came in at 5. One place above is Iceberg, an outstandingly successful white floribunda that arrived from Germany in the 1930s. At 3 is the gloriously rampant rambler Albertine, which was the Queen Mother's favourite rose. In runner-up spot is one that needs no introduction. Peace is still incredibly popular with you 60 years after it came to symbolise all the hopes of a post-war generation.
And here it is, your number 1, because Britain's favourite rose is this, Gertrude Jekyll.
Created as a cross from the popular old rose Comte de Chambord, this marvellous David Austin New English rose won by a huge margin for its colour, form and health, but particularly for what you describe as its outstanding fragrance.
A wonderful choice and a worthy winner, and I think it's clear from your response that you share my passion for the rose, Britain's favourite flower.
From the 19th of May, your favourite garden shows are all upping roots and being replanted weekdays at 5 over on Home, Virgin Channel 265 and Sky Channel 246. For more information, visit lovehome.co.uk.
The sun's love in the spring.